of candidates and conversations leading up to the 2020 general election on November 3rd. Tonight's event is honored to be hosted by UC Merced's Community Engagement Center and the Office of Government and Community Relations. My name is Jesse Espinoza, and I'm a fourth-year student majoring in political science, and I will be moderating this discussion this evening. During this series, as we sit behind our computer screens, hearing from the candidates that hope to build our community's future, it's clear that we are in unprecedented times. Due to the pandemic, we can't gather to engage in healthy debate and discussion like we normally would. So we felt that it was really important to find a way for members of our community at UC Merced, including our students, faculty, and staff, to engage with the candidates running to represent them and us. But this virtual format also makes it easier for the UC Merced community to invite our friends and neighbors in the greater Merced community to join us in this discussion from the comfort of their own home and without having to deal with campus parking. So welcome to all, and please be sure to let your local family, friends, and neighbors know that they are welcome to join us for the upcoming sessions if they missed this one. Additionally, please be sure to remember to register to vote or make sure you're already registered by visiting registertovote.ca.gov. Again, that's registertovote.ca.gov. And before we get started, we'd like to pause and acknowledge all local indigenous people, including the Yokuts and the Miwok, who inhabited this land. We embrace their continued connection to this region and thank them for allowing us to live, work, learn, and collaborate on their traditional homeland. Let us now take a moment of gratitude to pay respect to their elders and to all Yokuts and Miwok people, past and present. Thank you. Now let's go over a few housekeeping items. First, all participants are muted upon entry. We encourage you to use the speaker view instead of gallery view. We will start with some pre-selected questions for the candidate. Participants can type questions into the chat, and we will get to as many of them as we can during our time. If you would like to ask your question live, please use the raise hand function or let us know in the chat, and we will unmute you to do so. Again, we will get to as many as we can during our allotted time. Reminder that this is meant to be a conversation and an opportunity to get to know the candidates. So please keep it respectful and on topic. So without further ado, let's get started. Tonight, we have the opportunity to hear from Sarah Boyle, candidate for Merced City Council District 5. District 5 encompasses the area from Bear Creek North to Yosemite Avenue and from G Street West to Highway 59. Mrs. Boyle, thank you for joining us. Let's get started with the basics. First, please tell us about your background and your experience and why you decided to run for city council.
Okay, you can hear me okay?
Perfect.
Perfect, okay. So my name is Sarah Boyle, born and raised in Merced, went to all local schools here in Merced, from OLM, Crookshank, Merced High, even Merced College, then transferred to Fresno State and was in Fresno for about 5 years. Got my degree in mass communication and journalism with my emphasis in public relations. While I was at Fresno State, I was really involved in the student life. I ended up being the president of the PRSSA chapter, which is Public Relations Student Society of America. So I was the chapter president for 1 year while I was there. I was also in one of the entrepreneurial groups, and while I was also a student, I also worked at Fresno State at the Viticulture department. Also ended up working at the Fresno State Winery. So was on Fresno State campus quite a bit, having that student interaction while also being a student. And after that, I ended up working at a locally owned CPA firm as an executive assistant to one of the partners. There I supported him, but I also did our marketing efforts for the firm. Then after, and kind of in between, I also worked at a winery in Madera. So even though I worked full-time, I was also working part-time and just always doing something. That's kind of something I've always been known for doing. And I moved back to Merced in 2015, the end of 2015. I commuted to Fresno for a while, and I said, this is not the life I want to live. And, I quit my job there, and I knew that something was going to happen in Merced. I kind of thought, oh, maybe Merced's not really it. But the longer I stayed, the more I realized, like, this is home. This is where I need to be. And the community here is just something unlike others. I lived with my cousin when I moved back here, and she got me really involved with the community because of her job. And that's kind of the tipping point when I was like, okay, I want to do more. I want to do more. And eventually I got hired on at UC Merced. It was the Development and Alumni Relations Department at the time. And I was administrative assistant. They kind of floated me around from different position to position, but I got to learn so much. It was actually in that position that I've heard about Leadership Merced. And that was my first, a few months in, I was like, oh, what's Leadership Merced? I want to know what this is. And so as the years went on, eventually I was able to do Leadership Merced. And so I was part of class 34, and I did that last year. And that's kind of what the deep dive of getting to know Merced. And now I work at Trans County Title as one of their marketing title reps. My territory is mostly Merced. I drive around Merced literally all day long. I see things that a lot of people don't see because they're at work or they're at home during the day. So I'm always looking, I'm always observing. And so yeah, and here I am today now running for City Council District 5.
Well, awesome. Thank you for sharing about yourself. I'm sure our audience appreciates getting to know you better. And yeah, thank you for that. Moving on to, going into city council and what are the top 3 issues that you hope to address as a member of city council if elected?
Okay. So the first one, public safety, that is the number 1 for me. Being a female here in Merced, I want to feel safe. I want to feel safe on my own. I do ride my bike, and sometimes there's the moments where I'm like, I don't know if I should be doing this. But the whole public safety, it's not just about like criminal justice. I also want to think about our seniors and our youth and how we could be helping them, how they can feel more protected. The parks, the neighborhoods, we want to make sure the kids, they feel safe and we feel safe that we're in, making sure that our vulnerable communities have a voice and they feel safe. To be honest, when I was younger, I wasn't always comfortable being around police officers, but with everything going on today, I think it shows that there's a lack of misunderstanding on both sides. We need police officers to protect our neighborhoods, and as city leaders, we need to be held accountable to help build that trust and filling that gap. We need to look at the community and the police to make this work. Another issue for me, and this kind of goes into my background with public relations and marketing, is rebranding Merced. The whole concept. So backstory is when I started creating all of my social media for my campaign, I was like, grow Merced, like this is my platform, grow Merced. And then I said, okay, we need to take it back because it really is Sarah Boyle for District 5. But I still am huge on the whole grow Merced. That is, my strategy of once elected, I want to continue to have Merced grow. And so the whole concept of grow Merced is creating a more positive vibe for our community and what we are about, in order to attract new and better businesses and companies to plant their roots here. Just have a better feel for the community. I'm extremely proud of Merced, and I see the beauty here. One day I was driving around and trying to think of like a slogan, and I was like, Merced's the gold. And when you're digging for gold, you have to keep digging for it. And we have to keep digging. I know it's there. And so it's just like, don't quit. No, we all need to keep working together. And because I grew up here, I've seen a lot of things happen in Merced. And in high school, it was considered dead. And I want that to be out of people's head. And I think it is because I went away for a while. I was in Fresno, and I saw how things were just moving along. And when I was in Fresno, it was from 2010 through 2015. So it was kind of between the recession and the end of it. And when I came back to Merced, I was like, okay, I know we can be doing some of the things that they're doing. I know it's so easy, but it's kind of figuring out, okay, what's holding us back from going that way. And so I was really fortunate to see what was going on there and what was being implemented there. And I just want everyone to be proud of Merced. We have the potential. We just need to change the mindset, because once we change the mindset, we can attract more businesses, which will create more jobs, which then will generate more taxes. So we can have more safety and more services. And, it's that complete circle. And you have to look at the whole picture of what's going on. And then my third issue, which kind of ties everything into one, but I still like to keep it separate because it is really important to me, is the quality of life. And like I said, it does tie into the public safety and the rebranding of Merced. But, with the more businesses, we're going to get more jobs, and then we can keep more money here locally. Something that I learned in Leadership Merced was during our healthcare day, the average doctor sees about 1,000 patients, and in Merced, they see over twice that. And for me personally, like, I have to pull a PPO healthcare plan because I have to go to doctors out of town for like specialists, and we don't have those doctors here. So now I'm taking more time out of my day to go to the doctors, like in Fresno. So it's an hour drive there, an hour for an appointment, and an hour drive back. So that's 3 hours out of my day that I'm now having to drive when I wish I can just drive down the road and go see a doctor here. Another part of quality of life is more city beautifications, updating our parks, making sure they're kept tidy, they're kid and family safe. I went to Farron's Park the other day and was on the swings, and I was in jeans, and the seat was burning me. I couldn't even sit, and I'm just sitting here like, here I am, a 32-year-old who can't even sit on a swing, so why should a child be able to do this? And so it's like putting myself in those other positions to kind of see what's going on. And I feel like those could be easy fixes, but just, looking to see where money's at and everything. Encourage more events. I've been doing events since I was 12 years old, and I can say that because I pulled up all my 4-H yearbooks. And so like the whole Love It concert series, I was so excited for that. I was like a huge advocate, like posting it as much as I could. So I was really bummed, when COVID hit and we couldn't do this anymore. In the past, there was a blues and jazz festival that happened every year in Merced, which I don't know if any of you remember it or know that, but there were things that happened a lot in Merced, and I want to bring those back. We can totally bring those, and we can be doing these. And then also, like, as a city, but also as District 5, it's more community and neighborhood events. I love Matt Serrato's idea of the block party. That brings the neighborhoods together. Something I was talking about is you can look at your neighbor and be like, oh my gosh, why haven't they mowed their lawn? But have you gone over there to see why? Like, maybe they don't have a lawnmower, maybe they're incapable of mowing their lawn. It's like doing these community events gets you out of your house, gets to meet your neighbor, and find those common grounds of how you can help each other out. And then also more cleanup services. In the past, Merced used to do, I think, once or twice a year where people can put like their big items out on the street, and the garbage truck would come around and pick them up. They stopped that, I believe, because of the recession, but that's something I would like to see come back because, when there's clutter in your home, there's studies show that it makes you more depressed. And, I just want to create that more positivity. So yeah, those are my issues.
Yeah, I have to say that I agree with your point that it's good to know your neighbors. My grandpa knows his neighbors, and I think that relationship just helps out. He helps them, they help him. But to build to that, you mentioned a lot in the answers that you want to work to build a sense of public safety. In order to address that, what do you think are the steps that we have to take as a city council to work towards that better sense of public safety?
There's a few different things that I've thought of. So for one thing, Merced PD does have their citizen academy where people can go, and it's like a semester, not like a semester, but they do weekly classes where you can understand more of what PD does. I also did a ride along this last weekend, which was very insightful. So I think also understanding how Merced PD, how they work is one thing. But I would want more presence in a way too. You know, one of the things that we did is they walk around downtown, but I would like for them to walk around downtown more or have more of a presence downtown, just so that when people are walking around, because downtown is a walkable area. So there's, you know, certain things like that I would like to see more of.
Great, thank you for that. We got a question from the chat.
Yeah,
Jocelyn mentioned, she says that you mentioned in relation to the policing and safety of everyone in Merced, there's a misunderstanding on both sides. Can you expand on what you mean by both sides and what you think we can do to improve accountability?
Well, I feel like with, you know, everything going on in the media right now, you know, there's that division, and we don't understand what is going on either end. I really feel like Merced PD has done a really good job with everything going on and keeping things civil. But it's just having those conversations and not pointing the fingers.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. So, you know, you mentioned a lot also about perspective. And, you know, I think that Merced has a unique perspective and one that's varied among the community. Many individuals say that Merced City is a city on the rise. How, in your term on city council, would you continue that progress while still addressing the concerns of families and businesses that have been here for decades? In other words, how do you make sure that longtime residents of Merced aren't left out on the transition?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like anything that the people that have been here for the longest, they still need to stay involved. They don't need to, like, you know, stay behind the scenes. They need to still go to events, be part of the community, be part of nonprofits, try to be on boards, just being involved in the community in general.
Yeah. You know, onto our trail system, what would you do to improve the existing infrastructure in our parks, specifically our bike and trail system?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I'm a bike rider too. I remember actually a few years ago when the time changed, I completely forgot about it. And I was riding my bike home and I was just like, I'm dressed in all black and I'm so afraid that I'm going to get hit by a car. So, and then I'm just thinking, okay, this is like such a popular street. Why is either more lighting or better lighting? And I think just that one thing is a huge improvement, is just more lighting so that people are more visible. Something that I don't believe has been tapped into is, you know, I'm trying to think of the future. I don't want to, and here's the other thing is, like, I don't want to just think about what's going to happen in 1, 2, 5 years. What do we need to be doing now that's going to make a difference in 10 years, 20 years, 50 years? So, you know, if we're going to put lights in, we need to be looking at solar. I know it's going to be more expensive, but it's like that investment that we are putting in for Merced. So in years to come, we're not, oh, we now have to rip out these lights and put in new ones. I mean, California passed a law that, you know, and all the new homes have to have solar. So we need to start thinking like this might be something that's going to get passed in the future. So why don't we be ahead of the game? But people are literally left in the dark without lights on. And I think just putting putting more lights on the bike paths or bike trails, that definitely can help in one way. Another thing, I know, so I actually have a bike path right behind my place. And I've known that the police officers will actually drive their vehicles through the bike path. And in a way, it's kind of invasive. So I think if they were to have like a bicycle, like PD on bikes, and to go through the trails, and it's not invasive, you know, those that are more vulnerable, they're not like feeling like, oh my gosh, why is there a cop car coming at me on a bike path? And so it's just like creates that more presence, but it's more like in person, and it's like, oh, hey, like, I'm glad that I actually see you on the bike path. And you're, you know, making sure that everything's taken care of. Yeah, so those are a few of the ideas that I have for that.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing. I know that, you know, police and community relations is a big thing for you and your candidacy. Last month, the current Merced City Council voted against allowing a Black Lives Matter mural that would have been placed in downtown Merced. The mural would have been privately funded. In the end, it was a 5-2 vote against the installment of the mural. Had you been a council member casting a vote, what would your vote been and why?
So I would have voted yes for the mural. That would illustrate prominent African American leaders that have paved the way for our country, our state, even here locally. Um, the only issue I have is putting something on the ground for people to drive and walk over. I just find that offensive. But I would be in support of a mural on a building, like I talked about earlier with the quality of life. City beautifications, I want more art installments. And so I think that is a one way to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
In a recent article in the County Times, you mentioned that more jobs and good paying jobs is a priority for your candidacy.
Yes.
And you also mentioned that, there are roughly 27 vacancies in your district.
Yeah.
What would be some of the strategies that you would like to implement to try to directly assist those businesses who want to fill those vacancies?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I work in real estate, so I see a lot of vacancies, especially for commercial. And what I would like is create some kind of incentive for businesses that want to come. Either you waive permit fees or waive some kind of fee. If they're going to be putting X amount of dollars into this building, maybe we can look at something that we can waive so that the cost for them to come isn't so high, but now they're able to get their foot in the door, open the doors for the business, hire people, and now you're creating more jobs. So that's one of the things that I would like to hopefully somehow conduct, but at the same time, I don't want, waiving fees to deter other services in the city. So it's like you have to be really smart about doing that.
Yeah, a lot of times in our city council or in just any city council, different budgets get pushed against one another. And I know you mentioned this a little bit in creating creating incentives without drawing back the revenue. So how do you address that kind of balance moving forward and knowing we need to increase revenues from some areas, but we want to be more lean in some?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, I just, once elected, just sitting on council and just figuring out how we can get this done. Looking at the budget, seeing what we can do. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. A lot of our city council, a lot of our city, it is growing, and we've seen a lot of advancements coming forward. And especially pre-COVID, if you walk down Main Street, you saw a lot of new buildings being renovated, and even now today. And Merced surely is, a city on the rise. However, we still have a lot of poverty in our in our area. We still have a lot of hunger and food nutrition, and those are problems that persist, over time. What are some of the strategies or some of the things you would like to do to make sure that even if we're a city on the rise, that we're making sure that all of our citizens are rising alongside with us and kind of sharing in that prosperity?
Yeah, absolutely. So something that I feel that could be one thing to solve it. We have a lot of programs and resources in Merced, but I don't know if people are really informed of what's going on. And I know this isn't city drawn, but it's like, we have nonprofits that, they have these great ideas and they want to do these things, but getting the word out, I feel like it's a struggle. I mean, we have social media, you can do print, but I still will see comments where people are like, I didn't know this was here, or like it's after the fact, I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. And I think that's one of the things, is just making sure people are informed. I thought of a few things like to implement to where you can inform more people, but I mean, is it putting flyers in their utility bill? Is it generating an email list? One of the things that I personally have done is, with the city of Merced, when you go on their website, you can enter your email for updates. And I think that's one of the best things that they could have implemented, because now you have these instant updates of road closures, water turnoff, everything that's going on in the city. But I think that also needs to be other resources too. I don't know if the city can be in charge of that because, they're with other entities, but, it's just informing people. but at the same time, people need to be responsible of finding that information too, not being afraid to ask those questions. I feel like I am always digging for things and trying to find things, and I stumble upon information. I'm like, oh, well, I didn't know that. And then I end up sharing it. And I feel like one thing that I have as an advantage is I share a lot of things on social media because I feel like it's important and it's going to inform people. And I think that's what we all need to be responsible for, is keep on sharing things.
Yeah, well, thank you for your input on that. I agree that, communication is key, and making sure that we're getting the word out. Another issue that's, really prominent in our community is that, many residents are concerned with the growing population of the homeless community, and understanding this is a multi-staged, multi-tiered issue, and different organizations play a different role in combating it. What would you say is Merced City Council's role in addressing that problem, and what are some of the things that you would like to see to try to address that problem?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can't ignore it. It's everywhere. And it is a major problem. I've been doing a lot of research on this topic because it is a very in-depth issue. I was even looking at the point in time survey that they did in 2018 and 2019. There was an 18% increase of the homeless population. But some of the information that I thought was interesting is they only conducted that survey for a few days. So is that really accurate? Or is there only around 600 people that are homeless in Merced County? So in a way, I feel like there probably is more. And then they need to conduct that survey a little differently. I'm hoping that's what they'll do for 2020, and extend the life of doing that whole survey. And another thing to think of is the city of Merced is the county seat, and we're the center point. So for any key behavioral health and social services, like, we need to ensure that we provide a safe and orderly return for those that come from other places in our county. That's something I actually learned on my ride along is, they get calls from people in out of county, they bring them to Merced, they get released, and now they have no way to get home. So now they're here. And so it's like, does the city now need to provide some mode of transportation for them to get back so that they can actually get the proper care that they need? Because now they're just in our streets and they're not really getting what they need. And so, we need to take the same approach with collaborating with other colleagues throughout the Central Valley as well. Like, what are other counties and cities doing within our Central Valley who experience the same challenges? Because we are having the same effects with the homeless population.
Yeah, I appreciate your perspective on that. And, I think that one issue that bleeds into this issue is, a lack of affordable housing. UC Merced's 2019 to 2020 enrollment sits at just under 10,000 students.
Okay.
This growing student base has caused a surge in the number of residents within our county. The California Department of Finance reported that our county is the fastest growing in the state, showing that more than 4,000 people moved into Merced County last year. This has led to Merced's notoriously low vacancy rate of, just 1%. However, in some cases, in an effort to create additional housing, like in the case of Tioga, olding housing units are being, renovated to attract individuals. How would you make sure that we're ensuring affordable housing and trying to ensure that everyone can have access to the housing needs that they need?
Yeah. So, I mean, being in the real estate industry, I'm seeing it at a firsthand. I know that we have developers here that are, they are building really nice homes, but they aren't necessarily affordable for everyone here. I've talked to a few people within the real estate industry, and they do know developers that are known for affordable housing. And I would like to have those conversations. I think one of the, I don't want to say issue, but it's kind of like an issue, is we're waiting for someone to come here. We need to go out and have those conversations with those developers and say, hey, we need you to come to Merced and help us out. And this is how we're going to work together. And so that's something that I want to do. I think also another thing that's happening is the opportunity zone. Merced, most of its downtown area is part of an opportunity zone where we can have these investors that have capital gains and come in and purchase these homes. And, now we're revitalizing our downtown. Not necessarily that's going to be affordable, but that's something that I hope for in Merced, that people are taking that opportunity when it's here. but we definitely need affordable affordable housing. I kept wanting to say affordable healthcare, but yeah, affordable housing for sure.
Yeah, and understanding that, sometimes that and other issues might be kind of multi-level government related. One common concern that we hear in the community is about a lack of coordination between county officials and city officials. Do you think that concern is fair? And if so, what would you do as a Merced City Council member to merge that disconnect?
I'm not afraid to have these conversations. I know a few of the county supervisors, not personally, but we need to find a common ground. We need to work together. If we don't work together, it's going to become a huge problem at the end of the day, regardless. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. You mentioned that, you hope current residents remained involved and informed. How do you encourage residents who aren't typically involved to become involved and kind of reach out to those kind of disconnected communities?
Yeah. I would have to look at all the channels of what's working for the city right now. They've definitely increased their social media presence, doing the emails and everything. Is it flyers? But I've heard the fact where, they get their utility bill and like the flyer for an event had already passed. So it's just like, okay, we need to figure out a better method of that. I don't know if it's, posting things on businesses, on their doors or, going that route. But at the same time, it's like having those conversations, with COVID going on, I picked up my phone more times and having conversations with people than I had before. And I'm actually kind of glad that that happened because I'm talking to people that I normally wouldn't talk to on a regular basis, so to say. And also, with me, it's like when something interesting is happening or something that I feel that people can get involved, I want other people to know. And I will even say, hey, I'm sharing this. Can you share it too? Or, hey, I know this is going on. Can you share it? You might know someone that knows about it. And something about me is people will tell me stuff that they're looking for, they're wanting to do. And I listen, and it might not be till months or years later, not really years, but probably, days, weeks, months later, I'll remember that they said something and I'll come back to be like, hey, I heard XYZ. And they'll be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you remember that I told you that. And it's like, yeah, I remembered, but it's like having those follow-up conversations as well.
All right. Well, thank you for that. I think that we've kind of sent a barrage of questions your way. So I think that's pretty much all the questions we had. We're going to open it up for a participant Q&A. You can as Corey just reminded us in the chat, don't forget you can submit questions here in the chat. Corey, do we have any questions on standby for the candidate?
Nothing yet. I'm hoping that people will start up now. And
yes, please feel free if you have a question, feel free to type it in the chat. This is a great opportunity. As a city council member, it's a rare opportunity to get a chance to speak to them face to face, whereas as best as we can do during COVID. And so please, feel free to utilize this opportunity.
It looks like we've got Priya.
Yeah.
Ready.
Perfect.
Hi, Priya.
Hi, Sarah. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? It's good to see you.
Good to see you. I'm so proud you're doing this. My question is, in our governments, a lot of the governmental agencies, leadership or elected members, there's not a lot of diversity. It's mostly men. Mm-hmm. How does it feel, to run a campaign in a mostly male-dominated kind of situation? And what do you think that we should do to improve diversity on our city council or our other governmental agencies?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been really fun doing this. And like you said, diversity. And I think that's also one of the reasons why I'm doing this. We need a woman's voice in government. Because at the end of the day, it's like, okay, I have this heart and I want to just manifest it onto Merced. And I see the things that happen. I know I don't have kids and I'm not married, but it's like I put myself in those positions. It's like, okay, if I was a mother, how would I feel about this? And it's like that whole instance at the park when I'm sitting on a seat, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I would be so furious right now if I was a mother and I felt, it's just like putting yourself in those positions. But I'm doing this because I know that I have a voice and I want it to be heard. And I don't want a city council just be full of men. Nothing against them. I think everyone's really great, but there's a reason why I'm doing this, and I know that it's for a good impact.
Well, good luck. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Priya. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you, Priya. Does someone else have a question?
No, it's Corey. I was just going to say you can unmute yourself now. So if you want to unmute and ask a question, please do.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah,
just something in the
absolutely.
chat there.
Yeah.
We got a question in the chat. This is from Sarah Hill. She says, "Hi, this is Sarah Hill. We were involved in meetings last year supporting women's quality of life. Can you share more about that and the work that you did to move the ideas forward?"
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm so glad that Sarah brought this initiative to Merced, because it definitely brought a diverse group of women together. And it's not like we had the same issues and problems, but we just wanted to help in some way. But we didn't want to have to depend on the city to do this. And we were like, okay, we can do this as individuals and be responsible for it. So two of the things that I absolutely loved, and it kind of ties into the whole public safety, is we created this campaign called Light Up Merced. And even if the city can't go and install all these new lights or improve the lights, it's just flipping on your porch light just to make a difference and create more light in your neighborhood. I mean, there's studies that show that when there's more light, there's less crime. And just putting an LED light, it won't be that expensive either. And I've kept my light on ever since we started that initiative. And I even think about when I drive around neighborhoods, if they're dark, I kind of think, okay, maybe if they have their porch light on, it might be a little bit a little bit brighter. And then the other one is, and this kind of ties in with, because with the homeless encampments, there is a lot of trash that gets left behind if they start moving around. And this came from one of the women in the group, and she's like, I've always wanted to do this Tidy Up Tuesday, and it just had that catchy like Tidy Up Tuesday. And it's just taking 10 minutes out of your Tuesday. And we had like a time frame because it was around lunch, which makes it kind of easy for people. But just taking 10 minutes out of your Tuesday and find an area and just start picking up trash. And it really does make a difference. But it's also interesting to see the kind of trash that you're picking up. And it just makes you think, okay, who was here? What were they doing? Even when I was putting up my campaign signs, there was this one area and there was a bunch of trash, and my dad and I just looked at each other and we're just like, okay, I wish we would have like brought gloves, because we would have totally picked up the trash around here. And so now it's like a mental thought, okay, next time I come through here, I need to just stop by, pick up some trash, and then it's just in a clean area. So it's just like it's like, I know that I didn't make this pile of trash, but it's just making Merced look better, because we can just sit here and point the fingers, well, I didn't do that, but I didn't do that. But it's like, okay, it takes 10 minutes to just clean it up and it's done, and it's no one has to talk about it anymore. So yeah, those are two of the initiatives that it's just easy for people to get involved, and they don't really have to do anything. It's just flipping on their porch light and taking 10 minutes out of their Tuesday. If Tuesday doesn't work, let's do Thursday. And if 10 minutes you want to do longer, I mean, go for it, And there was a time that another lady that works downtown, I work downtown, she texted me, she's like, hey, let's do Tidy Up Tuesday together. And I was like, yeah, let's meet at the corner and we're just going to walk around downtown. And there was even other ladies who were eating lunch and they started picking up trash with us. And I was just like, see, it just catches on.
Yeah, I agree. And I appreciate that perspective. And that probably ties into what you're talking about, in community education and spreading those initiatives.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions? Feel free to put them in the chat. If not, I think we could probably move on. Yeah, feel free to put them into the chat if you got one, and we'll move back to it. But I appreciate that. Sarah Boyle, thank you for joining us tonight. Before we end our conversation, I would like to give a minute or so to the candidate for closing remarks. So, Ms. Boyle, what would you like our audience members to really remember about you tonight?
that I really care for Merced. My heart's truly in it. I want people to feel safe here, but I also want Merced to grow on a positive note. I don't want it to be Murded anymore. It's Merced, you know, and I know Mayor Murphy, his thing was City on the Rise, and it truly is, but we just have to keep working at it. And, you know, with the UC here too, we have to look at that as well. And I want the students, when they come here on campus, to feel safe in Merced as well. Okay, you can find more about me. So I do have a website. It's sarah4merced.com. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter. My Instagram is @GrowMerced, that's the handle. My Facebook, just Sarah Boyle for District 5. And my Twitter is Sarah Boyle PR.
All right. Yeah, and feel free to write those in the chat if you'd like
Yeah,
to.
for sure, I will. And if people have questions after this, please feel free to message me. I've been doing so much outreach, just like even on Facebook groups, when people start talking about certain topics, I will message them, be like, hey, I want to learn more about this. And so I want to learn about other people's experiences too, because that's helping me understand some of the issues that are going on that could be possibly easily fixed.
And we'll leave this meeting open for a few more minutes if
Yeah,
folks
absolutely.
want to hang out, since we have until 7:30 if we wanted to. So I'll just leave this open for a few more minutes if anybody wants to unmute and ask Sarah questions directly. But in the meantime, I think we'll stop the recording here in just a second. So.
Yeah, and for closing remarks, thank you, Ms. Boyle, for participating and for letting us get to know you a little bit better. For all our participants, please, please, please make sure that you register to vote. Please register by visiting registertovote.ca.gov. Registertovote.ca.gov. Thank you. Join us again for our upcoming candidates and conversations. Our next one is this Thursday, September 24th, with City Council District 5 candidate Jeremy Martinez. Please visit events.ucmerced.edu for future dates and candidates. Thank you all again, and we'll see you here next time.